You know that feeling when you reach for something at the supermarket, something you've bought 100 times before, something that feels safe and familiar, and then you start wondering if maybe you've been trusting the wrong thing all along? What if I told you that 9 foods sitting in your kitchen right now, foods you probably ate this week, might not be exactly what you think they are? And I'm not talking about obscure health food store products or expensive imports. I'm talking about everyday staples that most Australian families rely on without a second thought. The gap between what we think we're eating and what we're actually eating is sometimes so wide it feels like we've been living in 2 different realities. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm not some nutrition expert with a wall of degrees. I'm just someone who started paying attention at the supermarket, reading the fine print, comparing products, asking questions. Because something didn't add up. The more I looked, the more I realized that what appears on the front of the package and what's actually inside can be 2 very different stories. This isn't about fear or throwing out everything in your pantry. It's about understanding what we're really buying. Let's start with breakfast cereal. Walk down any supermarket aisle and you'll see boxes covered in sunshine, happy families, whole grains, promises of nutrition. The marketing is brilliant. It makes you feel responsible, like you're making the healthy choice. But check the sugar content per serve, then check the serve size. Notice something interesting? The serve size is often dramatically smaller than what most people actually pour. We're talking 30 grams when most of us are having double or triple that amount. Multiply that sugar content by what you're really eating, and suddenly that healthy breakfast starts looking like dessert. Some cereals marketed specifically to adults for health benefits contain more sugar per 100 grams than the ones marketed to kids with cartoon characters. The adult versions, the ones with words like natural and wholesome, sometimes have higher sugar than the brightly colored kids' cereals parents try to avoid. And here's where it gets interesting. Many products use different types of sugars in the ingredients list. Instead of seeing sugar at the top where it should be, you'll see glucose, fructose, maltose, corn syrup, rice syrup, honey, and about 6 other sweeteners scattered throughout. Technically, no single sugar is the main ingredient. But when you add them together, sugar is absolutely dominating that cereal. It doesn't taste like lollies or soft drink. It tastes like breakfast. It feels responsible. But your body processes all that sugar the same way. Then there's juice. This is where things get properly uncomfortable because juice has this health halo that's difficult to shake. We've been raised to think of orange juice as vitamin C, as something beneficial, as better than soft drink. Fresh squeezed orange juice does contain vitamins, but the sugar content in a standard glass is often comparable to a can of soft drink. The difference is that juice sugar comes from fruit rather than being added, but once it's in your bloodstream, your body doesn't distinguish between natural fruit sugar and added refined sugar. When you eat a whole orange, you get fiber that slows sugar absorption. You also get full before consuming the amount of sugar in a big glass of juice. But when you drink juice, you're getting sugar from multiple oranges delivered rapidly without fiber. Most of us wouldn't sit down and eat 4 or 5 oranges, but we'll happily drink a glass containing exactly that much fruit sugar. The fruit juice marketed to kids is even more concerning. Many products labeled as fruit juice are actually fruit drinks with added sugar and only a small percentage of real juice. You'll see fruit drink or fruit beverage instead of fruit juice, and that distinction matters. A product can be labeled as containing real fruit and still be mostly water and added sugar. Parents think they're giving their kids something healthier than soft drink, but in some cases, they're giving them nearly identical sugar content with only marginally more nutritional value. Yogurt trips people up constantly. The yogurt aisle has exploded with options that sound incredibly healthy. Greek yogurt, protein yogurt, probiotic yogurt, yogurt with fruit, yogurt with granola. Yogurt genuinely can be nutritious. Plain, unsweetened yogurt is a decent source of protein and beneficial bacteria. But the vast majority of yogurt products sold in Australian supermarkets are heavily sweetened desserts, masquerading as health food. Those little individual serves of flavored yogurt can contain as much sugar as a chocolate bar. The fruit at the bottom varieties often have more sugar added than actual fruit. And those yogurt drinks marketed as probiotic health boosters sometimes have sugar listed as the second ingredient after milk. Flavored Greek yogurt can be just as sugar-loaded as regular flavored yogurt. The protein content might be slightly higher, but you're still consuming significant sugar with every spoonful. Those kids' yogurt pouches, the ones that seem so convenient for lunch boxes, are often sugar delivery systems with a thin veneer of dairy nutrition. Some contain more sugar per 100 grams than ice cream. Parents are giving their children what amounts to dessert while believing they're providing a healthy snack. The disconnect is massive, and it happens because we trust the packaging, we trust the marketing, and we don't take time to actually read and understand what the nutrition panel is telling us. Let's talk about bread. Plain, simple, everyday bread. Toast for breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, bread rolls with dinner. Most people pick up a loaf based on whether it's white, wholemeal, or one of those grainy options that feels virtuous. But bread in Australia often contains far more sugar than it needs. Yeast doesn't require much sugar, yet many commercial breads contain significant amounts of added sugar or other sweeteners like honey or molasses. Why? Because sugar helps create that soft, fluffy texture consumers expect. It also increases shelf life and improves browning. The bread we eat daily, sometimes multiple times a day, contributes to our sugar intake in ways we never think about. Some wholemeal breads contain more sugar than white breads. Some fancy artisan-style loaves with seeds and grains contain added sugars, despite looking like the healthiest option. Then, there's sodium. Many commercial breads contain surprisingly high levels of salt, which isn't nutritionally necessary, but improves flavor and shelf life. A few slices throughout the day can contribute significant sodium without you noticing because bread doesn't taste particularly salty. This is the insidious part. These aren't foods that taste like junk. They taste normal, familiar, safe. But the cumulative effect of consuming added sugar and excess sodium from bread, cereal, juice, and yogurt every single day adds up to a dietary pattern that looks nothing like what we think we're eating. Processed meats are an area where most people have some awareness that things might not be ideal. We know bacon and salami aren't health foods, but the extent of processing and additives still catches people off guard. Take those pre-packaged deli meats, sliced turkey or chicken or ham that seems like convenient protein for sandwiches. Many are reformed meats, made from bits of meat chopped and blended with water, starches, and various additives, then pressed into a loaf shape and sliced. The ingredient list often includes modified starch, carrageenan, various gums and thickeners, preservatives, flavor enhancers. The actual meat content can be surprisingly low. Some products that appear to be primarily meat are actually more water and additives by weight. And then there's sodium. Processed deli meats can be absolutely loaded with salt, far beyond what you'd add if cooking meat yourself. The preservatives used, particularly nitrites and nitrates, have been linked to health concerns, yet they're standard because they prevent bacterial growth and maintain that appealing pink color consumers expect. Those vacuum-sealed packs of sliced meat contain a chemistry experiment designed to extend shelf life and improve texture at the expense of nutritional simplicity. People eat these every day, in school lunches, in office sandwiches, as quick protein snacks, never really considering that what looks like straightforward meat is actually a heavily engineered food product. Flavored milk is everywhere in Australian supermarkets and convenience stores. Chocolate milk, strawberry milk, iced coffee, marketed as delicious treats that also provide dairy benefits. They contain calcium and protein from the milk base, but they also contain staggering amounts of added sugar. A single-serve bottle of chocolate milk can contain the equivalent of 10 or more teaspoons of sugar. If someone handed you plain milk and suggested stirring in 10 teaspoons of sugar, you'd think they were insane. But when it comes pre-mixed in a chocolate or strawberry flavor that tastes pleasant and familiar, we don't hesitate. Kids drink these regularly after sport or as a lunchbox treat. Adults grab them for quick energy or post-workout. The sports marketing is particularly clever because these drinks position themselves as recovery options, as if the sugar and fat content is justified by physical activity. But most people, especially kids, are not exercising at an intensity that justifies consuming that much sugar in liquid form. The protein and calcium could be obtained from regular milk without added sugar. But flavored milk has become normalized as an everyday beverage rather than the occasional treat it should be. Muesli bars occupy this strange space where they're simultaneously understood to be a bit indulgent but also marketed as healthier alternatives to chocolate bars or biscuits. The packaging often features oats, nuts, dried fruit, nature imagery, words like natural or wholesome. Some muesli bars genuinely are relatively nutritious, but many popular brands are held together with syrups, contain chocolate chips or yogurt coatings, and pack as much sugar and fat as a candy bar. The ingredients often read like a dessert recipe: sugar, glucose syrup, vegetable oils, chocolate, more sugar in another form, and somewhere down the list you'll find the oats and nuts that justify calling it a muesli bar. Parents put these in lunchboxes thinking they're providing a better option than a chocolate biscuit, but the nutritional profile is often nearly identical. Check the sugar content per bar, and it's frequently equivalent to several teaspoons of pure sugar along with your handful of oats. Because they're marketed as convenient, portable, and suitable for active kids, they've become a daily staple rather than occasional. The cumulative effect of a muesli bar in the lunchbox, flavored yogurt for afternoon tea, cereal for breakfast, and juice with dinner is a child consuming far more sugar than their body needs, all while parents believe they're making reasonably healthy choices. Pasta sauce is something most people don't even think to question. It's tomatoes, maybe some herbs, garlic, a bit of olive oil, right? But pick up a jar of commercial pasta sauce and read the ingredients. Many list sugar within the first few ingredients. We're not talking about natural sugars from tomatoes. We're talking about added sugar, sometimes substantial amounts, used to balance acidity and improve flavor. A single serve of pasta with commercial sauce can contain several teaspoons of added sugar without anyone realizing, because pasta sauce doesn't taste sweet. It tastes savory, like dinner, like something healthy even when it comes from a jar. The food industry has learned that adding sugar to savory foods makes them more palatable and more addictive. It's not just pasta sauce. It's in salad dressings, barbecue sauces, tomato sauce, relishes, marinades, all the condiments we use regularly without considering their contribution to total sugar intake. And the sodium content in many commercial pasta sauces is also concerningly high. What should be a simple vegetable-based sauce becomes a delivery mechanism for sugar and salt that we consume regularly without awareness. Making your own pasta sauce is incredibly simple and allows you to control exactly what goes into it. But most people reach for the jar because it's convenient and it tastes fine. The taste is fine because it's been engineered to taste fine through added sugar, salt, and various flavor enhancers. Then we get to instant oats and flavored oatmeal packets. Oats are supposed to be one of the healthiest breakfast options. Whole grain, high in fiber, filling, nutritious. Plain rolled oats absolutely are all those things. But those convenient little packets of instant oatmeal, especially flavored varieties, are often loaded with sugar and contain far less actual oat content than you'd expect. Some are more sugar and flavoring than oats. The maple and brown sugar varieties, the apple cinnamon ones, all those cozy-sounding flavors, they achieve that flavor through significant amounts of added sugar. Because the serving size is small and the product is marketed as a healthy whole-grain breakfast, people don't think twice about it. You could buy plain oats, cook them yourself, and add a small amount of real maple syrup or fresh fruit, and you'd still be consuming far less sugar than what's in those pre-flavored packets. But the convenience factor and the perception that it's all the same because it's all oats means most people choose the heavily sweetened instant version. So here's where we are. 9 everyday foods that most Australian families have in their homes right now. Breakfast cereal, fruit juice, yogurt, bread, processed meats, flavored milk, muesli bars, pasta sauce, and instant oats. None of them are poison. None will harm you if you have them occasionally. But the problem is that for many families, these aren't occasional foods. They're daily staples. multiple times a day in some cases. When you add up the sugar from cereal and juice at breakfast, yogurt and muesli bar for snacks, processed meat sandwich on sweetened bread for lunch, flavored milk in the afternoon, and pasta with sugary sauce for dinner, you're looking at a day where someone has consumed enormous amounts of added sugar and sodium from foods they genuinely believed were reasonably healthy, or at least neutral. The cumulative effect is what matters. Each individual item seems harmless in isolation, but the pattern creates a dietary reality dramatically different from what people think they're eating. This isn't about creating fear or making people feel guilty. Most of us are doing the best we can with the information available and the time and money we have. The food industry has invested enormous resources into making processed foods appealing, convenient, shelf-stable, and profitable. They understand human psychology, flavor engineering, and how to market products in ways that bypass our critical thinking. We see whole grains on the label and feel virtuous. We see real fruit advertised and believe we're making a healthy choice. We trust that foods marketed to children must meet some basic standard, but the reality is often very different from the perception. What actually changed for me wasn't that I became some perfect clean-eating person who only eats vegetables and avoids all processed food. That's not realistic, and it's not necessary. What changed was that I started reading labels properly, comparing products, choosing versions with shorter ingredient lists and less added sugar when possible, and accepting that sometimes convenience foods are fine, but they're treats, not the foundation of daily nutrition. Plain yogurt with fresh fruit instead of pre-sweetened stuff. Regular milk instead of flavored. Making pasta sauce when I have time, or choosing brands with minimal ingredients when I don't. Buying actual deli meat from the butcher instead of reformed stuff in plastic packets. These aren't massive changes, but they add up. The thing that sticks with me most is how normalized this has all become. We've reached a point where foods engineered in laboratories to maximize palatability and shelf life at the expense of nutritional integrity are considered normal, and whole foods that humans ate for thousands of years are considered specialty health food items. Bread shouldn't need sugar to be bread. Yogurt shouldn't taste like dessert unless it actually is dessert. Juice being equivalent to soft drink in sugar content should be common knowledge, not a surprising revelation. Understanding what's actually in the food we eat doesn't mean we have to become obsessive or fearful. It just means making informed choices. It means recognizing that marketing is designed to influence behavior, not educate consumers. It means accepting that the food industry's primary goal is profit, not public health, and that's not inherently evil, but it does mean we need to be more critical and more attentive. And it means acknowledging that the gap between what we think we're eating and what we're actually eating matters, especially over time, especially for kids whose eating habits and metabolic health are being established right now. If any of this resonated with you, if you found yourself recognizing some of these patterns in your own shopping habits, then maybe it's worth taking a closer look next time you're at the supermarket. Read the ingredients list instead of just the marketing on the front of the package. Compare the sugar content between similar products. Notice when the serving size seems unrealistically small. Ask yourself whether the convenience is worth the trade-off in ingredients you wouldn't use if you were making it yourself. These are small things, simple things, but they shift the power dynamic slightly. You start making decisions based on information rather than marketing, and that changes everything.